Hello, this is Bonnie McDonald Dixon and Ann Crawford, and we're here with Plan B for 2023. We've been having fun all year
Yeah.
sharing this. We're in our last quarter, of the year, and the last few days of September. So today's a perfect day to talk about happiness at work.
Mhm.
So I'm Bonnie McDonald Dixon, as I shared, and I have had a portfolio career. And in this portfolio career, I've done everything from driving tractors to delivering the mail. I had a sales career in the natural products industry, and I've had fun the whole way. And what I know for myself is if I'm not happy at work, I'm not happy. So, with
Yeah.
saying that, I love to help people find their joy at work, find their joy in a business, find their joy either working for someone else or working for themselves. Just totally that. Now, Anne, I just love it. And I'm going to move to our little slide deck here because Anne, as well, has had this amazing not portfolio career, but she's had an amazing career as a transition coach for over 17 years. And she shares a highly effective process that supports individuals in creating the careers and personal lives they've always wanted. Now, what I love about Anne is she honors and specializes with the military personnel returning to civilian life, which isn't always easy. And
Mhm.
so, Anne, can you speak to that a little bit of how different it is for a civilian versus someone in the military?
Boy, is it different. Let me tell you. Talk about structure. Both Bonnie and I just sit here and we have our own businesses. So our schedules are pretty flexible. We say, hey, what are we going to do when we get up in the morning? And we have a plan, of course. But in the military, just think about this. In the military, you get up at a certain time, you put on a uniform, you know where you're going, usually to a base. You know who your boss is, what your mission is going to be, how you're going to do it, and you know who you can ask for questions, but you have to be a pretty independent thinker, to be honest with you. And then you're surrounded by a brotherhood of people who are in the same situation. So transfer that to a civilian job where, okay, you might wake up at the same time every day. But guess what do I wear today? I go into work. What's going on today? What's the project? Where's the manager? Did we get the supplies in for today? Why is Jim over there talking on his cell phone? Why we have a deadline to do? These are the things that the military really struggles with when they remove themselves, they retire, they leave the military. It's very, very difficult for them to identify what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be doing it. They have an inner directiveness for sure, but then where's the brotherhood? Everybody is off doing different things. So they have no one to go to for the guidance that they really need and the support. And that's where I see a big difference. That and what they did in the military does not mesh with the jobs that are in society in the civilian world. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Wow. You know, until we walk in another's shoes,
Yeah.
we don't know what that's like. And it brings back my time working on a military base, which was Edwards Air Force Base, which is actually where I delivered mail. I was a civilian working on an air base. People would be moved in and a month later moved out.
Right.
They it was so stressful for people.
Right.
And the it's very rigid rules and
Yeah.
very you were responsible not only for yourself but your family. If your family did anything out of the norm, oh my goodness, it reflected on you. I mean,
Right.
there were some rules that you don't see in a normal workplace, and
True.
unspoken rules for sure.
Right.
And
And
uh,
your
yeah,
job didn't also, like in the military, that, and this is a precise group that really, if you made a mistake, somebody's life is at stake. Now we think about
yes,
that as surgeons and doctors and some other things, police and fire. But most of us, if we make a mistake, okay, we just correct it. But in the military, a mistake is a huge deal. It could put down a plane, it could kill an entire unit. So the stresses from the military are completely different, especially when they've seen combat. So that's what I've seen with my clients.
Exactly. Well, we just wanna know both of us have been around the block
Yeah.
a few times, in fact. We've got a lot of experience and a lot of things to share with you today. So we're gonna get on going here. Again, I have been, a portfolio career. I also am a lifelong health advocate, and that's what I do now. I'm a health advocate, and I love to help people feel better, just feel their wellness, just to love life every day. And when you aren't in pain, you'll often be able to do your work better. That's for sure.
Right.
Also, a co host for Storyvan TV. I'm an author of How to Get a Job You Love and Change One Belief. I'm also a speaker and a horse and coffee lover. So, with that, we'll get on to our presentation. And so, the topic of today is, can you find happiness at work?
Yeah.
And I just put a few pictures. Here's a happy camper. I've met people who love what they do, just adore what they do. And I've met people, and one of them, bless his heart, is my dad. He's 93 now. He complained every single day. Now, underneath it, he may have liked some of what he did, but his mantra was, I'm so frustrated with work.
Right.
And so out of that, I think came mine where I did not want to not be happy. I wanted to be happy at work. But
Hmm.
many people are very happy with their careers. My mother was a nurse. She loved what she did. She was also a mother. She loved what she did. So we can do that. So Anne, can you speak to the when people come to you for their career changes, what often is it that they find that they like and what they're searching for, that happiness?
Yeah. I think we've got some of it on our slides, but not everybody really hates their job. Like you just mentioned, Bonnie, there's certain components. I mean, I actually have never met anybody that loves every aspect of their job. I mean, you and I love pretty much 90% of what we do. But then again, we have times where we're like, where's the income coming in? So that adds a little bit of stress. But for the bulk of my clients, let's talk about this for a moment. Somebody that I'm working with right now really, really loves what they are doing, but they're not going anywhere. There's no room for growth. There's their coworkers. Some of them are nice, and some of them, as I'm going to quote, are useless. There's not much management skills going on there. So if those aspects of their job were 100%, I don't think they'd ever leave it. But no job is perfect. So we've always been focusing on the negatives, but there are some positives everybody finds. It's either they love the skill that they have, or they love the workers, or they love the environment. Those are the three keys that I've seen keep people engaged in their work.
Absolutely. And one of the things I like to say is, did you smile today at your work?
Yeah,
Did you go in happy, or did you go in thinking, "Oh my gosh, I've got so much to do, and
right.
I'm gonna have to work with this person, and oh my gosh, this project's overwhelming and I don't know how to do it." So back to management of you know, who are you working with and how are you working with them?
Right,
Now,
right.
here's some fun stats, but you go first. Share a little bit more.
Well, 200% people, 200% of employees are productive when they're happy. Think about your day. Think about when you're in an environment, you've had a great day out, whether it's walking in the woods or doing something positive, you come back charged up and you feel relaxed and open to other things. So
Absolutely.
that's very similar to the workforce. When you go into work and you absolutely enjoy it, you're going to give them more back. So this is a pretty high statistic, I
It
would
is
say.
huge.
Yeah.
Now, 50% of organizations with happy employees deliver 50% higher sales. I know that to be true. If you're standing, have you ever walked into a retail store and you see a clerk sour faced
Yes. Yes, I have actually.
and you ask them a question and they just point?
Yeah.
That is not a very happy camper. And Whereas you walk in, the funniest example I think I've seen was having worked for the post office. Greg and I were traveling. We had to mail something, and we walked into a one-man post office. I mean, that he was the one clerk, this tiny little place.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody so happy. That man was cheerfully going, making jokes, and I mean, you were there and you left happy because the
Right.
employee was so happy.
And I bet his work all got done on time and everything else.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, this is interesting. This is costing money. Unhappy workplaces have a 41% higher turnover rate. You do not want a high turnover rate. That means you have to
No.
retrain, retrain, retrain. It costs you money. If you have an employee that is brand new, they're not going to be as efficient and do as well for the clients and customers as someone who's been there a while, seasoned.
Right.
And so when you have high turnover in any business, it is costing everyone money. That
Big
is
time.
for sure. Now, this is a good one, Ann. 50% of the workforce is happy nationwide. But what does that say?
Yeah.
50% is not.
I know. And what's happening to that other 50%? Doom and gloom, leaving, people say there's a job shortage and all this stuff. Well, most of those people who aren't going back to work because they really don't want the same environment. So what do you do? I think it was very interesting what you said about the training and investing in your employees. But once you've trained them, what keeps them the retention rate high? And there we go back to a loving, caring, good environment.
Yeah, here's some of those things. The work itself,
Yeah.
bringing them the employee joy or yourself joy. The surroundings,
Right.
bringing peace of mind and not stressful. I've seen, I used to go in a lot of the back ends of veterinary clinics because of my former husband. You'd walk in some and you'd think, oh my goodness, yuck. It was so depressing and
Yeah.
not nice.
Right.
And whereas you walked in others and you're like, wow, this place is cool.
Yes.
It's not just the newness, it's the cleanliness, it's the
Right.
attitude of everyone. It's almost like the walls get vibrations of everybody.
It's true. I do believe that. I really do.
And when people are creative at work, they can be creative. That opens a whole new avenue. I'll never forget working for a health food store, and I never laughed so hard in my life. It was two of the employees were making a display of fiber supplements, and they ended up. Now this never got out to the actual show floor, but they made a display with one of those things that you use for a dryer. The tube.
Oh, yeah.
And they were having a riot of a time. I didn't stop them because they were laughing so hard and
Right.
energized, and they took that energy out to the whole store.
Right.
But we just laughed and laughed, and they were feeling very creative.
That's true. That's
And
true.
people, don't you think, Anne, when they're able to bring value to the workplace, voice their opinion, say, hey, if we did this, it might work better. If the
Right.
management is open to it, and if a person's creative and get voiced or instead of shut down,
Right.
they're a lot happier.
That's true. And that shows great leadership within the organization when they listen to their workers and their ideas. Because to be honest with you, when you get on the higher management, they get less engaged in the process. So you always have to listen to your worker bees, because those are the ones that are dealing with the customers, the time restraints, the product quality here. And when you stop listening to that and just say, I want 680,000 components to go out by Tuesday, and they keep saying to you, we don't have the machinery, we have men out or women out, we can't meet those deadlines. You need to listen to them. And that's where the breakdown begins of not being validated. So when you talk about your employees need to listen to you, it's a huge issue. A lot of my clients said, I'm leaving because I am invisible to them. I've got some great ideas. No one's listening to them. So
Wow, that is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. And you're happy when you want to go to work. Like you
Right.
said, there's going to be days where you don't want to get up, but
Of course.
when you're happy, you think, oh, yeah, I get to go to work and do this and this. I work for, again, the health food store. And it was just so such a happy place for me.
Yeah.
And I had all of these things, the work itself, the surroundings. I was be able to be creative. I felt like I brought value. I wanted to go to work every day and
Right.
enjoying my coworkers. Now, in every place, there's always got to be one kind of sour apple.
Oh, there is.
And my sister worked in an office with 200 people, and there were mostly sour apples. And it was
Oh,
hard for her to go to work. It was stressful.
yeah.
So, we can choose. We're in the driver's seat and we
Right.
can choose to stay. And if we do, we must create our own happiness because no one else is going to do it for us.
You nailed it, Bonnie. Exactly. Creating your own happiness when you're in a situation that isn't perfect. So it's
Right.
absolutely essential.
Now, here's the proverbial unhappy Mr. Gumby, very unhappy here.
It's so true. That's exactly what everybody looks like.
When you have really low pay, minimum
Right.
wage, it is hard to pay your bills.
Right.
I've heard of some states in the US like $8 an hour. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
So, look at your pay, and that's in my book of how to get a job you love, which is free to you. If you contact me, I will be happy to send you my ebook. But when you have really low pay and you aspire for more pay, then the difference between the two is what you need to do to get more pay, more
Right.
skills, change jobs. Workplace, sometimes you'll be rewarded by
Mhm.
bringing value to the workplace yourself.
Right.
But if you have what you were just saying, can you talk about that dead end earning potential? And
Man, let's say you have a college degree and I've just dealt with some engineers, okay? And they've reached the top of their pinnacle and they want to continue to grow, but the company doesn't offer any incentives for them. And they won't let them work themselves up the ladder because good old Joe or Mary has been here for many years and they don't need any assistance. They don't need any fresh minds. They're threatened actually by it. So where do they go? And you feel it inside. We all have felt it inside when you know there's more in you, but where do you go? So you just have to look for progressive companies that have ingenious ideas that are new to the market where you can continue to thrive. Because there's nothing worse, unless that's your personality, you don't have the makings of being a manager and you don't want the responsibilities for the next higher up. But that's fine. You stay there, you veg, you're cool, that's all. That's great. But most of us have the potential in us to continuously grow within our years of our career, and we want to do that. And that's where you mentioned, getting more education or taking courses and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Now, as far as the working conditions, the difference between when I was younger, I went to work in a factory with my father for summer vacations, and that really enlightened me to say I will never work in a factory again. It's perfect for many people. For me, it was dark and dreary and dirty. Then later on in my 20s, I went to work for a country club. I had the golf course, I had a beautiful clubhouse, they had a swimming pool. I was in an indoor tennis facility. It was like night and day. I felt energized. The people around me were fun. We were like one big happy family. And that retained me there because not because there was a lot of growth, but because the people and the environment made me happy to go to work. Now, if I had stayed there much longer, I decided to leave to have children. That's a different story. I would have maybe worked myself up the ladder and it might not have been strong enough to keep me there. But that's the difference. You can survive in an environment that really makes you happy or quit pretty easily in an environment that really makes you feel uncomfortable. And we all know what we need.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Here's one other thought in this unhappiness. As you said, you can decide that that job will pay the bills,
Mm,
and you can actually start working on the side if you're not working 60, 80 hours a week, but even then you could, to move into something you really love.
right.
And so the job itself may not bring you joy, but it will give you stability as you launch yourself either into a new more education for a new career or a business even. You
Mhm.
know, they call them side gigs sometimes.
Right. Right.
And I met last weekend a young girl working at an RV show selling these cute pen things. I bought a kit, of course, for my grandkids. And she had a picture of her dad that had been on Dragon's Den, which is a where they launch people in Canada with businesses. And the whole family, each one had a different thing he launched.
Mm,
And wow, they created their own jobs. And she was, you know, not having to work hard. She's just sitting there filing nails, basically, and selling these cute
love
little
it.
pen things.
Yeah.
Now, I bet they make a gob of money, right? And then they probably don't work 24/7 just on these big shows, which can be very intense, but then you're done with it. So
Right.
we can work those jobs. I did do
You
that with the
better
post
believe you
office.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, at the post office, I was holding space because it was good pay, good benefits. Didn't really care for the people. The job was okay, but the management was really tough. Um, I started going to school at night,
Yeah.
planning on moving on. So we all make our choices, but you do not have to stay unhappy, is my big message. And
Right.
here's the fun one, Anne.
Yeah.
It's not the job, it's you.
You better take a look in the mirror sometimes, people, because
Yes.
sometimes what you're throwing out because you're unhappy causes you to really not get along with other people, not enjoy your work as listed. And do you enjoy going to work? I'll be honest with you, I'm not naming names. No one knows this person, but they are Debbie Downer. Wah wah wah. And every job that she got into, there was the same problems, the same issues, and I felt like saying, "Why don't you take a look at your depressive personality here?"
Mhm.
And because it had such an impact on everywhere she worked. It was no one's fault, everyone else's fault, excuse me, but her own.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
everything that's listed here, she did it. She didn't get along with her coworkers. She didn't get along with her boss. She didn't like her work. She didn't look forward to driving because, oh, that was too far. It was a 20-minute drive.
Oh my gosh.
You know, she complained to everybody. So, literally, when you saw her coming, everyone, it was like a flock of birds that saw a car coming. Whoosh, we all disappeared because it was too much. None of us wanted to be around the negativity.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and when you were working at the post office, Bonnie, did you when you were walking, it was too much, it was too hot. Did you daydream of doing something different? You
Yes, yes, I did. I had always enjoyed shopping at a local health food store, and I said, I want to have a health food store. And so I was taking classes, business classes. I started working with SCORE down in the US, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. I did
oh,
a business plan. I found a health food store that was being sold and thought I could purchase it. It did not work out.
yeah.
I ended up getting this. We've talked about this on our prior. I volunteered on my days off for a health food store. And the woman was not intimidated at all that I was going to open one 90 miles away.
Yeah.
We're friends today, 40 years later. I worked for her on my days off for a year,
Good for
thinking
you.
I was going to get this health food store, which didn't
Right.
ever pan out. But what happened was I left the post office and went to work for her as her general manager because I knew everything. I had created my own job. Now I decreased my pay, get this, by 2/3.
Mm,
But I had so much energy and
yeah.
fun and excitement. And for 4 years, I worked for that woman, and I got a reputation because she had such a stellar reputation. and I went to open my own business, and all I had to say is that I had worked for this wonderful woman, and everybody said, "Fine, you're hired. We'll hire you to represent our companies." Because I had given, how would you say it? Sweat equity, they call it sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It was not a degree. It
No.
was a
Job
life
experience. Yeah.
lessons
People.
on how to run a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was hands-on learning, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So the post office I always was grateful for. I saved some money. I had stable income. I had great health insurance. There were a lot of positives.
Right.
The negatives for me personally outweighed the positives.
Right. There you go.
And so for some people said, "What the heck? You're leaving the post office?" I said, "Oh yeah, you could have the job. I work in 115 Fahrenheit in the summer and 0 in the winter, and
Right.
you work really long hours and it's hard work. Have at it."
That's a great story because it really shows what you were daydreaming about attached itself to something that you had a great interest in, and you slowly but surely moved in. I'm telling you, everybody, if you're like Bonnie and you have a little niche that you like, start with getting experience with a mentor or volunteering or something
Mhm.
there. It's great experience.
I can't say that enough. It would I volunteered when I was really younger, right out of high school, for a veterinarian because
Hmm.
I thought at that time I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a shock. What
Yeah.
it's
Really.
really like,
Yeah.
what is it really like to work in the back room of a veterinarian
No,
clinic was
it's
shockingly different than what the fantasy was.
yes, yes. Of
Mhm.
puppies coming in and all this sweet and giving them a shot. And then after that puppy leaves, then you go in the back and you've got to clean cages and hear the barking 24/7 and
Mhm.
get attached to them and then they die. It's very difficult
The
to deal
dog
with.
comes in all splattered from an accident, the people are
I know.
hysterical, and, a lot of people saying, "I don't want this pet anymore, put him to sleep," and you're like, What?"
I know. I
It was
know.
heartbreaking, you
It is
know?
heartbreaking.
They
Yeah.
actually have quite a high suicide rate within veterinarians,
I
strangely.
believe it. I
Yeah,
really do. Yeah.
yeah. So what do you want?
Yeah.
This is where Anne comes in. This is where I come in. We help you find what do you really, really, really want and to get where you are to where you want to go.
Right.
So, what do you want? Do you want higher pay? Do you want to be acknowledged for what you do? Appreciated. Boy, that's huge for
That's
when
huge.
when management appreciates and shares that appreciation with staff, they stick around even if all the other circumstances aren't quite to their liking. If they
Exactly.
feel appreciated,
Hmm.
yeah, more time off, more
Right.
responsibility, less responsibilities. One of my friends worked for Hewlett Packard, HP,
Mhm.
many years ago. The attrition rate, meaning staff would leave but no one was replaced, she ended up doing the job of 5
Yeah, that's
people at
ridiculous.
once.
Shame on them
And
for that.
yeah,
Shame on them.
it was tough. She finally retired and was so happy.
Yeah. And I think through COVID, it really brought people where they stayed at home. That work-life balance is very important that they never were allowed to have. And now they have a choice, and it really opened the eyes to so many people as to are they really happy at home?
Right. In the real estate terms are a buyer's market or a seller's market.
Right.
Right now, we as workers are in high demand,
Yeah.
and the businesses are the ones having to dance around trying to make you happy.
That's
But you
right.
still have to know what you like,
Right.
and that's where having a wise counsel to listen to you and to guide you comes
Right.
in very, very helpful. So, would you hire you? Be honest.
Right. I would probably because I really love what I do. So I'm going to go the extra mile, as we wrote up there.
Mhm,
And part of your and my career is looking for solutions for people. So that just fits our personality
mhm.
to a T. But if you're the type of person that some people like to sit in the back and do with the computer and don't like to go out there and talk to people and listen to them and find the solutions for them. So if you're that type of person and you're really being stagnant in your career, you got to speak up. And that's why I'm telling you, you are in charge of all these interviews and you're in charge of what you want out of this job. So listen to this. It says you act like an owner. You are the owner of your career. Start thinking that way. What would you not put up with if you were the boss and you had employees? It's as simple as that. It's start really understanding yourself and see where that goes as far as in an interview, but what you really want. That
You
in mind.
just said, I really liked what you just said. It's having that perspective, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And that's where, back to yourself and myself, we're able to be a third party distance.
Yeah,
So we're not looking all at the owner or the business or all at you. We're looking at what's a good fit. And
right.
it's finding that comfortable shoe. You put it on the very first time and go, wow,
Ooh,
that's
yeah,
terrific. And
that's
or you put on the shoe and go, it's a little tight, but if I have it stretched, it will fit just fine.
yeah.
And
My warning is:
mhm,
do you work watching the clock?
mm,
That is awesome because if you're sitting here doing something you love and then you keep looking at the clock going, when is 5 o'clock going to arrive? Something's off a little bit. I think when you're doing stuff that you get heavily involved in, time just flies by. So if you go to work and it's 9 o'clock in the morning and you go, good heavens, when is 4 o'clock going to roll around? I can't wait to get out of here. Something's not good. Something's not good.
wow. I think luckily some jobs are more physical than others, and you
Yeah,
actually almost don't have time to breathe to look at the clock.
right,
But other jobs, especially office type jobs, if it's a slower place, yeah, you could be, twiddling your thumbs. Um, but there's the opposite. Do you work staying too long?
right,
And you're expected to just work and work and work and work and work. Sometimes that's in management where they're not getting paid by the hour, but they're
right.
working for a company and they've negotiated to work all these hours, as many hours as needed. And then they're stuck, they get stressed because they might have things to do for home
Right.
or a medical appointment or whatever they need to do and they can't get to it. And you have to watch that too of being overworked.
Yep. Because then you start getting resentful. And
Yeah,
then when you can't make these appointments or your children's
yeah,
soccer game or something, you're going to blame it on them. But
right.
can you negotiate that in your career? Can you say to your boss, I have to be at my son's or daughter's soccer field at 3:30. Can I come in 2 hours beforehand? Or can I log on 2 hours and make up the work that way? Or stay extra like
Mm,
tomorrow I'll stay to 7 p.m.
mhm.
But really gauge that because it creeps in and then they expect you to stay that late. You
Right.
know, one thing if you're engrossed in and you're finishing your unbelievable painting or manuscript that is going out and you just can't put it down, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking
Mhm.
about giving too much of yourself and not getting enough in return here.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, this is a fun thing to do, and everybody should do it for fun on
Yeah.
everything, your pros and your cons,
Make
and
those
then
lists.
looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just a few. You can
For sure.
do whatever ones come to you, but I encourage everyone to reassess every year.
Absolutely.
Why not? Reassess
Absolutely.
every quarter if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah. And then through a self assessment, what did you learn about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to ask yourself some questions. Um, Taking time, reflective time, to say, am I happy at work? Now you can do this. A friend of mine teaches us 9 areas of your life. You can do it with your work, of course, which is what we tend to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Your home life, your spiritual life, your physical, your, health.
Right.
You can do assessments in all these areas. We're talking about work, but guess what? Our work, and you can totally talk about this, affects our health, our mental health, our family,
Right.
affects everything.
Yes. It's like a chain reaction. It really it does. So if our family life is off and it's stressful, then our work is going to suffer because we're not going to have the attention that we need to be at work. Or if our work stinks, we're going to bring it home, and sometimes you're not even aware of bringing it home. You think, "Oh no, I detached," but then you have no engagement with anybody else after you get home. You have stopped volunteering. You have stopped your volleyball, things that you used to do after work
Mhm,
because you're too exhausted emotionally and physically from it.
mhm, mhm,
So, like you say, I think you're dead on with actually your spiritual side,
mhm,
your personal side, family, what your goals are, and work. It's like a little time clock here. And watch out because if everything's off balance, that alarm's going to go off and it's not going to
mhm,
be good. It
mhm.
might be too late.
Here's a story I heard that I think all of us can use, whether we love our job or whether we don't love our job. It's called the trouble tree, and
Mm,
it's outside your home. And before you walk in your door at home, you're going to stop at the trouble tree. And if you have any troubles from your work from the day, you leave them outside on the trouble tree
wow, that's
and you
cool.
walk in your home. Because if you bring your work troubles to your home,
Mhm.
absolutely there's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
And when you walk out the door to go to work, you can pick them back up again if you want to and take them back to work.
Bring them in the car with you on your way as you're
Throw them out the
speeding
window,
down.
whatever you want to do.
That's true. That's true.
I heard that story and it made so much sense that bringing, and I myself have had challenges with that,
Ah,
of coming home, blah, 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 you know, and then realizing, no, 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 I'm in charge.
right.
I'm in charge.
There's a solution for that. I mean, we
Mhm,
we all have to vent. So
mhm,
sometimes setting up a time schedule, going just warning everybody, I want to vent for 5 minutes, and
mhm,
then that's it. You
mhm,
have to have a cutoff time. So
mhm,
either it's before you get in there and you vent all the way home in the car, or you
mhm,
say, I'm just going to give my family 5 minutes and then decompress and say, okay, the door's shut now. Let's go on to some happier things.
mhm, mhm. One of I love this. I have this, I think, on my LinkedIn. Make things happen.
Yeah.
We can talk about careers, and we can talk about happy or unhappy careers.
Mm,
But if we were on our deathbed, do we want to say, I worked my whole life in a career I really didn't like? What does that say about yourself? So,
right.
my encouragement is to make things happen now. And Og Mandino says a beautiful quote that we are not here forever.
Right.
Like, get on with it. Now, he has a whole series of things he says, but look
Right.
him up, Og Mandino, Ogmadino, a very wise man. And he's even, I think you can hear him speak on YouTube as well. And although he was, 100 years ago, it is very valid
It
that
is.
time waits for no one. So if you think, oh, I'll be happy when I retire, maybe you will, and maybe you won't,
Yeah.
because maybe you won't have enough money because you worked in a job that made too little money, or maybe your health will be poor by then. So our work is our life, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sleep maybe 8 hours, we work maybe eight, a lot of people longer hours.
Hmm.
And, hopefully we have some time to cook and eat and play and be with our family and do our creative stuff. But if your work, just think about this. Do you want to have one third happy life or two thirds happy life?
Right. There you go. It's really, I don't know of anybody on their deathbed that said, oh my gosh, I won't be able to make my deadline by tomorrow. Ha ha ha, deadline. But I'm just saying,
Caught me off guard there.
yeah, like this. It's really what it boils down to, and it would be for me, is what connections did I make? How did I make the world a better place? It could be through your work. I think Bonnie and I both agree that a lot of it has to do with our work, but it can be those small gestures.
Mhm.
And I want everybody to keep that. It's so in their minds. It's so important that, like Bonnie said, you're only here for a limited time. Make that time enjoyable, productive, and change the world to make it a better place. And if you can do that for your work, do it and find out, reach out to both of us because there are so solutions to everything, to any kind of thing that you're struggling with. And we're really, I don't want to make a plug, but we're really good at creating options for everybody. And so if you really feel stuck, don't be afraid to contact either one of us because we're
Mhm.
here for you.
We are. And I can truly say, having discussed with Ann over this whole year, the solutions are there, and it's up to you to make things happen. You're not stuck. Never feel stuck because there's not really such a thing. It's
No,
only right here in your head that you're
that's
stuck.
right.
There are many, many ways to make income, and it's all about you knowing you, and we can help you do that.
Yeah,
You reach out to us on LinkedIn,
absolutely.
and we'll have a discovery call with you. And no matter what, we're here for you and love to help you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anne.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.